So every book in the universe tells you that you need to reflect and you need to be in reflection. But here's what nobody tells you. Most people are doing it wrong. After reading 500 plus books on psychology, mindset, business, spirituality, and studying this stuff for 10 years in and out, I've come to realize that reflection is the #1 thing you can do to change your reality entirely. Everyone tells you to self-reflect, but most people are doing it completely wrong, and actually they're making things worse. See, reality is a mirror, and the mirror will never smile before you do. So it's important to know how to face your reflection and how to change it. There are 3 levels of reflection, and most people get stuck at level 1 their entire lives. And I used to be one of them. I used to dwell on my failures. I used to beat myself up at every obstacle that stopped me in my tracks, until I discovered what elite entrepreneurs, high performers, and even the yogis in the mountains do and what they have in common. And once I figured it out, it changed everything. I learned from experience that your potential to evolve is directly related to your ability to learn from yourself without judgment. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact 3-level framework that separates amateurs from masters. I'll tell you all about the art of reflection and why in fact it is an art. Plus I'll give you 5 proven practices that you can start using today that I've tried and tested for over 10 years. And I'm not just theorizing here. Like I said, I've spent the decade learning and implementing these with my one-to-one clients, with myself, or I've observed them in high performers in my network. And the shifts in these people have been drastic. If you're tired of living in regret and repeating the same patterns, then this is for you. So here's the thing that most people miss. There's a massive difference between reflection and rumination. And if you don't know which one you're doing, you're probably making yourself worse and not better. So rumination is replaying the same scenes over and over again and creating deeper grooves in your mind. It's completely emotional and you're triggered by your past choices, thoughts, and actions. And you judge yourself with disdain. This is living in regret. Reflection, however, is different. It's observing the pattern once, extracting the lesson, and then moving on. No emotion, no judgment, just data. But here's where it gets interesting. Like I said in the beginning, even if you master reflection, there are still 3 distinct levels. And the highest level is something 99% of people will never reach. So let me show you what I mean. So there are 3, technically 4 levels, but level 0 is avoidance, and we'll come back to this later. Level 1 is surface reflection. This is looking back and getting emotional about your choices and your thoughts and your actions. This is judging your past decisions. This is living in the past or living in the future. This is living in the glory days or living in regret, either or. Level 2 is deep reflection. This is the bird's eye view. You see what happened, you learn from it, you adjust, no attachment. And level 3, this is what I've observed in masters. Complete detachment from their past selves and their future selves. They live fully inside of the now, which means this acceptance that you are constantly becoming and unbecoming. And so there's no use in getting attached to an idea of who you think you are, because the moment you do, you set yourself up for failure and you block yourself from evolving. And that's the entire game. You are not your losses, but you are also not your wins. You are the one that experiences them all. And this is the foundation of reflection. So as I mentioned before, we have to first overcome level 0, which is avoidance. And look, most of us have been there where we don't want to relive a mistake that we'd made previously or somewhere that we just messed up. But most people don't realize that avoidance isn't neutral, it compounds. The more you avoid your patterns, the deeper the grooves become. And the more likely it is that you're telling the universe more of the same, please. And this is why your reality doesn't change, is because you keep unconsciously repeating these loops and falling into the same patterns without the awareness that you can break them. If you live in avoidance and avoid reflection altogether, then you're almost guaranteeing that your future will rhyme with your past. Now you might be thinking, cool, now I understand. How do I actually get to these levels and ascend through level 0 all the way to level 3? Because most people, and I'm assuming you know, that reflection is very valuable. There are 3 things that stop them from actually doing it. And the third one is the biggest trap of them all. I've seen it countless times in my clients and the people that are emailing me and DMing me. So the first reason reflection normally fails for you is because there is no structure. When someone tells you to reflect on your day, you simply avoid it because it sounds too overwhelming. Something I've learned personally from 8 and 9-figure business owners, that where you want consistency, there has to be systems. And in order for there to be systems, there has to be a structure. And so we have to treat our self-reflection and self-improvement the same way. The second reason is simply because it's uncomfortable. Of course, you don't want to face yourself. Real reflection means confronting patterns that you don't want to see, things that you normally avoid, things that if a friend told you, you would stop talking to them. The third reason is what keeps people trapped for years. And I've already touched on it. They confuse reflection with rumination. They think that they're being thoughtful and they think that they're actually looking back at their old patterns, but really you're deepening the grooves of the same destructive patterns. And this is why you can reflect for years but never change. So here's what actually works. I'm going to give you 5 practices that are proven to change the way that you actually self-reflect and to actually give you data and insights and give you direction on what to change. And there's one in here that's more powerful than all the 4 combined, but I'll get to that in a minute. But let me start with the foundation. Number 1 is the morning pages. This is a practice that I picked up from Julia Cameron in her book, The Artist's Way, and it's something I recommend to all my one-to-one clients. And to break it down, all it is a journaling practice where as soon as you wake up, you write down 3 pages without lifting your pen from the paper. It's not meant to be legible, it's not meant to be read back, it's not meant to make sense. There's no editing and there's no judgment, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes. The reason it works is because it clears the mental clutter that will normally sabotage you before you even start your day. It creates a direct channel between your subconscious and your conscious mind. See, the great yogis and sages teach that you are not the thinker of your thoughts. You are the one who listens, and in a conversation, a great listener helps us overhear ourselves. And that's exactly what this practice does. Number 2 is an energy audit. This one's very simple, but at the end of the day, don't just track what you did, but track how your energy was during those tasks. Write down what gave you energy versus what depleted it. I keep a very simple note in my phone called energy in and energy out, and I write down the things that are feeding my energy and I write down the things that are depleting my energy. The number one thing that you need to understand is that high performers make themselves aware of what is doubling their energy and what is depleting it. And then they restructure their days around those things. How can you expect to change and how can you expect your reality to change if you're not even aware of the things that are feeding you versus depleting you? So this will feel hard at first and you'll find it difficult to try and track what is it that's feeding me, what specific thing, what specific sensation was it that I was feeling during this task. But the more you practice it, the more that gap closes and the more you live in that awareness. For example, things that give me energy could be my morning meditation or my walks, or deep flow states from my writing. The things that drain my energy without me knowing in the past was conversations with specific people, spending way too much time scrolling. So number 3, this is the monthly journal, and I don't think I've seen anyone do it the way that I do it, but essentially at the beginning of the month on the 1st, you write down all of the personal and business goals that you have for the month, and then near the end of the month, you review how that month went, and then you set your intentions for the month ahead. It takes about 30 to 60 minutes, and the best thing about this is you'll be surprised how much can happen in the space of a month. Whilst the morning pages gives you an insight into how your day-to-day looks, your monthly journal will expand your mental horizon and it will give you a track record of how your vision and your thinking and your problems have changed month on month. Number 4 is a personal favorite of mine. It's called the voice memo walk. So this is where you go on a walk and you make sure that no notifications can come through on your phones. You put it on silent or do not disturb and just start recording on a voice memo and then talk your thoughts out loud into the voice memo. Of course, the walk itself is the point because movement unlocks thinking. Speaking activates different neural pathways than writing and often will unlock insights that would normally stay hidden on the page. I have hundreds and hundreds of voice notes to myself that I've kept throughout the years, and oftentimes I go back and play my previous ones just to give me perspective on what I thought was a big problem back then versus what is a problem today. And an extra tip with this is make sure you're not performing. No one is going to hear this. You're not making content like I am now. Let yourself ramble, contradict yourself, change your opinion, and stumble. That's where the gold is. Now, if you commit to these 4 practices alone and you implement them for 21 days, I guarantee you your entire life will change. But there's one practice I haven't told you about yet, and it's because it's the highest leverage one out of the 4. Number 5 is the yearly audit. Every December, I do a comprehensive review of how my year has gone. I rate key life areas like my health, my wealth, relationships, what moved the needle, what didn't. It takes about 2 to 3 hours. That's why it's the most powerful out of all of them. It's because it prevents you from drifting without noticing. Most people wake up 5 years later and wonder where the time went and where did their ambitions and their goals go. This ensures that you never unconsciously drift again. Whilst you can set New Year's goals, it's unlikely by the end of the year you will remember what you even set. Inside the yearly audit, I track my wins, even small ones because they compound. My losses, the things I tried and that didn't work. The patterns I noticed, what kept showing up, what was a reoccurring theme. What drained my energy consistently, what gave me energy consistently. And just because you've watched this far, I've linked my complete yearly review system in the description below completely for free. It's the exact template I use to close out my years, what I give to my one-to-one clients, and it's how I architect my year ahead. So you can go ahead and download that in the link in the description below for free. Now, I know you must be thinking, this is all a lot and where do I even start? And you're right, you shouldn't try to implement every single one of these steps right away. Remember, this is something that I've refined over 10 years. And if you try to do all 5 at once, you'll end up doing nothing at all, which will leave you even worse off than you were before. So start with whatever practice resonates with you the most. Intuitively, you have a knowing of which one of these you think is going to help you the most. Do it for 21 days and then notice what shifts, and then you can layer in another one. If you fall off, then make sure you have no guilt, no resentment towards yourself. Just data. Remember the lesson from earlier, release the guilt, remember the lesson. The amazing part is that you can even reflect on your lack of reflection, and that's how meta it gets. It's all about noticing. And when you notice, you can choose differently. You cannot edit a reality that you choose not to read. The mirror never judges, and neither should you. So the goal isn't to be perfect, it's not to be present, it's not to do these things without interruption. It's the art of reflection and realizing that self-examination is just an ongoing dialogue with yourself. When you stop running from your past or living in the future and you return to the now, you stop running in circles and you finally begin spiraling upwards. So implement these and watch how your life will shift drastically. Now look, if you're sitting here and you're resonating with what I'm talking about, and you understand that it's going to take work like this to get to the next level of your business or your life, I created something specifically for you called the Vision to Execution Sprint. It's a 30-day container for founders and creators who already know what it is they're supposed to be doing and who are done self-sabotaging, spiraling, procrastinating, and are ready to close the gap between their vision and their execution. I only opened 4 seats to work with me one-to-one so I can ensure that I don't dilute the quality that I give to the people I work with. And there are 2 seats left for December. If you felt a pull when I mentioned this, or you have some hesitation in your feeling right now, this is the internal drag that we're going to reduce in the sprint. Application and details in the description below underneath your free yearly audit. Remember to download that. But fair warning, this isn't for everyone. But if you are ready to hit the ground running in 2026, then make sure you hit apply and I will contact you personally if you are a right fit. Otherwise, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you implement these reflections and tell me how it goes. Subscribe over to my main channel where my show is, where I'm posting a new episode every month. And I'll see you in the next one.